You have assistant coaches. Let's talk about what happened in the dorm room and how strippers got in there with recruits and the parties, and that you said that you had no idea of this. When did you find out that this was going on?
Okay, Dan, you told me that on the air that you said I should have known.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know? Well, and let's take your children out of the case. Let's take you as a 20-year-old.
Okay.
Did your parents know what you did on a Friday or Saturday night?
But if we're going to do this and do semantics, then my parents didn't have NCAA rules that surrounded their parenting skills.
My point being, you have people that you work with. You're not sure what they do at night. Well,
yes.
I'm a little bit more sophisticated than that because most college coaches never step foot in the dormitory of one of their athletes. Because I built this dormitory and I named it after my brother-in-law who I lost in 9/11, I was very much into that dormitory, everything about it. I had filmed the night before we play a game in it. I had breakfast sometimes with my players. I would stop by dinner. The assistant coaches were in there all the time. Very unusual setting. So in this situation, I'm in this dorm much more than any coach could be. So that's fact number one. Well, they interviewed over 118 different people, the NCAA. Over 118 that said Rick Pitino had no knowledge, nor his assistant coaches. I have 3 assistant coaches today on my staff that are all head coaches of Cal, NC State, and UMKC. They had no knowledge of what was going on. My nephews, Billy Minardi's son, who the dormitory was named after, lived on the same floor with Andre McGee. They had no knowledge. 20 managers had no knowledge. And even further, 3 players, Luke Hancock, the MVP of the national championship game, Stephen Van Treese, Tim Henderson, 4 played, Mike Mara, they told the NCAA on record, and I have signed affidavits from them in my case, they had no knowledge. And their teammate, David Padgett, was a teammate of Andre McGee. He had no knowledge that Andre would ever do any of this. So these are all facts.
But Rick, if it's true, then why would Louisville fire you? I'm trying to understand this. I really am. And I want to believe you, and you bring up valid points. It's just these were assistants. Why weren't they in fear of you that they would get in trouble if you found out that they were doing this? They were hosting these parties.
Well, why would he do it? None of us can figure out today. If over 30 assistant coaches have moved up the ladder and are very wealthy men today working under me, why would this young man do it? We have tried to figure that out, all of us, from David Padgett to Kevin Keats. None of us could figure out why except the ego of this. 4 times a year, sneaking people in a side door, going in a room, having a strip party and doing these reprehensible things. None of us can figure out the why part. That's the one thing we can't figure out.
How many times did they have these strippers in there, though, Coach?
Probably in a 4-year span, 4 times.
And in social media now, which I find interesting, that no one ever posted anything about this, because kids can't keep secrets here. That's surprising as well.
Dan, that's the most bizarre thing of it all. We have to, as a staff, we have to monitor social media every single day. We know what our players have on Facebook. We know what they put on Instagram. We know what all our recruits do, because it's a way of measuring the interest by the recruits in us, by following their Instagram, by following their tweets. We follow social media every day. In a 4-year span, not one single thing leaked out. Now, Dan, I only got a 5-game suspension. With all these reprehensible things going on, I only got hit with 5 games, and I would have won that appeal. And the biggest disappointment to me in all of this, the fact that my reputation has been ruined and I've been out of my passion that I love so much. Besides that, the thing that bothers me so much is that Tom Jurich, the athletic director, and I weren't there to fight in the appeal to show them that what went on in that room had no bearing, no steroid use, no academic fraud. Nothing that those kids did took away that championship.
Do you think this is a business decision by Louisville, that they were looking for something, Coach?
I think the governor fired the board of trustees. He brought in a pizza guy who was a big supporter of him. He brought in a guy that has no connections as a chairman of the board. And he brought in other people, only 2 or 3 members on the board. He brought in 2 or 3 Kentucky graduates on the board. And he basically told them, look, clean this mess up business-wise, not athletically, because athletically they were going great guns in every sport. He said, look, there's a lot of problems with this foundation, and they're using the money for different things. Clean it all up and straighten it out. And then my name gets brought into this complaint, and they said, okay, Jurich is out, Pitino's out, along with the president who was fired about 6 months prior to that. So it's just a new board. Now, you know it. You're on Wall Street, and Goldman Sachs brings in a new president, and he gets rid of all his vice presidents, brings in new people. That happens. You understand that happening. But it took away from us being able to fight the appeal. They rushed to judgment. Miami didn't rush to judgment. Arizona didn't rush to judgment. USC didn't rush to judgment. They did. And unfortunately, they paid the consequences by having a championship banner taken down. The championship will never be taken away because you can't do that.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.